Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Today we look at mysteries, things that we can't explain.
And we talk to this man, Rick Turner, an archaeologist who will try to explain the mystery of a 2,000-year-old man.
There are so many things that we can't explain. Do you know Stonehenge? It's a huge and very old stone circle in the south of England. Some of its stones came from 300 kilometres away. And that's one of the mysteries about Stonehenge. How were those huge stones brought there? Do you know, David?
No idea.
They might have come by boat.
Perhaps. And what about the Marie Celeste?
The ship?
Yes. In 1872, a ship called the Marie Celeste was found in the Atlantic with nobody on board. The question is, what could have happened?
I suppose pirates could have attacked it.
Maybe. And what about the dinosaurs?
What's the mystery about the dinosaurs?
Well, they lived on Earth for 150 million years. Then they disappeared, quite suddenly. Why?
Perhaps there was a change in climate.
Or there may have been a natural disaster, like a great flood or an earthquake.
It's a mystery. How were the stones brought to Stonehenge?
They might have come by boat.
What could have happened to the Marie Celeste?
Pirates could have attacked it.
And what happened to the dinosaurs?
There may have been a natural disaster.
Why do you think the dinosaurs disappeared?
The dinosaurs probably disappeared because their environment changed and they were unable to cope.
I believe there are many theories as to why the dinosaurs disappeared. I think volcanic activity is one possibility.
I like the catastrophe theory that a big meteor struck the Pacific Ocean and threw the world into darkness.
I think the dinosaurs disappeared because there was a massive ice age and they didn't survive the massive ice age.
Oh, I believe dinosaurs disappeared because they were hit by an asteroid.
Now, a different sort of mystery. One for Sherlock Holmes to solve.
Well, Watson, how did the thief enter the room?
Through the window, Holmes. Look.
That's not very likely, Watson.
Why not, Holmes?
Because the broken glass is on the outside. The thief must have gone out through the window. He or she must have come in through the door.
Holmes, you're brilliant.
Not really, Watson. Just intelligent. Come on, let's go and find our thief.
Sherlock Holmes has solved another mystery, or he thinks he has. He was sure of two things: how the thief came in and how the thief went out.
The thief must have gone out through the window. He or she must have come in through the door.
Lindow Moss is an area in the north of England where there is a lot of peat. Peat is a kind of soil with very special qualities of preservation. In the peat of Lindow Moss was found a body, which has come to be called Lindow Man. It's very well preserved and it's about 2,000 years old. The man who found the body was archaeologist Rick Turner, and he's been trying to solve the mystery of Lindow Man.
The story begins in the peat depot, which is just off the site where we're standing, where the men one day found what turned out to be a well-preserved human foot. I got to hear about this as the local archaeologist responsible for the area, and came out the next day, out onto the bog just behind where we're standing, and found what turned out to be the rest of Lindow Man. We came here, and what we excavated was the peat in which the body lay. We didn't, at that stage, want to uncover the body. So when we came here, we actually lifted a block of peat, and we weren't exactly certain of what might have been in there. What survives is not everything. What survives are particular types of robust tissue, the skin, the hair, the fingernails, the parts of the bone that are tissue, not made of calcium. So you only have a percentage of the body surviving. But they're the types of body which, under other circumstances, you would not normally find. And as a result, you can tell all sorts of things about the body that in other circumstances you would not be able to do. We could see exactly what he looked like, the fact he was bearded, the fact his hair was neatly trimmed, perhaps with a form of shears rather than scissors. It was before scissors were invented. We found evidence of the stomach, and the remains in the stomach tells us what he might have eaten for his last meal or his last 2 meals, so we could reconstruct that very accurately.
From the evidence, can we tell how Lindo Man might have died?
The evidence for how Lindo Man died is very clear, and you can reconstruct the events quite closely. What seems to have happened first is that from the 2 fractures that we found on the top of the head, it seems that he might have been hit by an axe or a weapon of some sort that certainly made him unconscious and perhaps killed him. Not happy with that, the people responsible then tied a strong cord around the neck, tied it at the back of the neck, perhaps inserted a stick through the cord, twisted the stick until the neck was broken and the breathing cut off. Finally, from the evidence of a cut underneath the neck, we think he might have been bled, and the blood would have poured forth from the body onto the ground. So we have a very complicated and perhaps ritualistic death.
What a way to die. What was it? They hit him on the head, strangled him, then cut his throat?
As Rick said, it was a complicated and perhaps a ritualistic killing.
But isn't it amazing how much they can discover from their research?
Yes, it is. And they found out a lot about how he might have lived as well as how he might have died. So who was Lindo Man? And why was he killed?
From all the evidence we've been able to gather from the scientific analyses and the detailed tests and the studies we've made, we can begin to build a picture of who Lindo Man was, how he lived, and how he died. He was a man, we know that for certain. He was perhaps 25, likely to be of medium build. He must have been someone who didn't work in the fields at the end of his life. He had beautifully smooth fingernails. He might have been a bard or perhaps a warrior or even a priest. He might have been the victim of an attack. Someone might have killed him and chose to bury him in a peat bog, so the evidence would never be found. It's just possible he might have died in some accidental way, and the wounds were caused by a variety of other incidents, attacked by foxes or something of that sort. Or, given the very complicated nature of how he died, the fact he was naked when buried, you might try to explain it as some form of ritual. But there are many forms of ritual, and you've got, therefore, to take the evidence further. Perhaps the ritual is religious. It might have been a civil execution, perhaps for some form of crime, or perhaps a prisoner who was being killed. So from the evidence we have, you can build a wide variety of explanations. Our job is to try and weigh that evidence and suggest which is the most likely.
Rick is certain that they found the body of a man. Other things are less certain, but we can make deductions from the evidence. Deductions like these.
Lindo Man had very smooth fingernails, so He can't have worked in the fields. His nails were too perfect. He can't have worked with his hands. He must have worked with his head. So, what could he have been? Well, he might have been a poet. Who knows? He may have been a warrior, a soldier of some sort. He could have been a priest, sacrificed by other priests.
There are many possible explanations for why Lindo Man died, but which theory does Rick prefer?
First of all, he must decide what date he might have died. We think it's most likely that he was Iron Age or died just after the Romans had invaded. If so, he was Celtic. He was a member of a Celtic tribe who would have lived here in Cheshire at the time. The Celts had a priestly class called the Druids, and we know from classical descriptions that the Druids indulged in human sacrifice. Lindo Man, therefore, might be the results of one of these sacrifices. As this phenomenon occurs widely over Europe at this particular time, I think we've got to look at some sort of religious practice that leads to these bodies being found in the peat bogs, not only here, but in countries like Germany, Denmark and Holland.
So, now we know what happened to Lindo Man.
Well, we know what might have happened to him. He might have been a human sacrifice.
Yes, part of a religious ritual or ceremony. Well, that's all from us. But let's leave the last word to Rick Turner.
We can reconstruct his appearance very accurately. We have a face from the past that we can look at and see that perhaps the past is not so far from our present time, that he looks much as you and I do, and he would have been walking here around 2,000 years ago. He almost certainly comes from the local area. Why he came to be in the bog is the mystery that everyone can speculate about.